Hi, young budding researchers. Now, let's focus on the three approaches to analysis. Now, this is a continuation of our previous discussion on the coding process, how to categorize the codes, and even formulating themes. Again, just a full disclosure, I'm still using the same slide coming from the American Association of Pediatric Directors in one of their conferences. So, when we talk about approaches, well, basically, we're referring to either content analysis, thematic analysis, or what we call the grounded theory approach. So, how do we select an approach in analyzing qualitative data? It will depend on your research goal and the data that you have, how you were able to gather those data. So, looking at this table, so from the three types of approaches, there are other types actually. It can either be narrative, can also be a phenomenological approach. And let's just emphasize this three. So if your research goal is to describe the data as is, or to quantify codes or categories, or even to compare frequency, then the best approach now is content analysis. And how will you get the data? Well, you can have open-ended survey questions, even interviews, FGDs, and even essays or narratives. For thematic analysis, if you wanted to develop themes or to interpret big picture or meaning of the data, then go to thematic analysis as your approach. So you look at the types of data here, very similar also to how you gather data in the content analysis. So interviews, essays, even narratives, and even FGDs also. Then the third one, grounded theory. Well, I would say this is just an extension of the thematic analysis. So if you wanted to generate a theory or conceptual model about the process or even a social phenomenon, then you apply now grounded theory approach. Again, this is an approach. So you will find commonalities later on how we apply content analysis on thematic analysis, and you can see the connections of these processes and making now the whole qualitative data analysis process something very unique. So again, for grounded theory, how do we get the data? So similar also to how we obtain data from the previous two approaches. So interviews, essays, and anything that will generate qualitative research. So moving on, now consider the research question. So for a content analysis, so how do residents and fellows differ in the strategies they use to cultivate their own wellness during training? So basically, it's really descriptive. So it's ideal to apply a content analysis approach. Then for thematic analysis, some sample research question here. What factors facilitate resident wellness during residency training? So it would be better you have to look at the bigger picture meanings so that it can be addressed clearly with your research question. And then for grounded theory, what factors facilitate resident wellness and what is the relationship between these? So higher level, when I say higher level, it's extending more the way you would view your data, the approach that you need to understand and explore your questions. So here, I think this is a very good diagram, schematic representation on the whole process in analyzing the data gathered depending on your approach. So let's start dito sa base muna. Yan. So you have the codes generated from your qualitative data. So you have your transcript, interviews, for as long as they're qualitative. Then you try to develop now the categories. But you can see on the next step, that's where the differences come in. So for content analysis approach, you try now to count the frequency of the categories. But for thematic analysis, you combine the categories into themes. And you look at the grounded theory. So if you're at this stage, you're doing thematic analysis already. But if you will extend by generating theory or model for how themes relate, that's already a grounded theory approach. So here, let's look at this research question. What does it mean to be well during residency? Because they're doctors, remember residency there. That's the concept, residency for doctors. Now, for content analysis, this is how you can present your data later on. You have the codes here. Although they did not include anymore the statements, so better include also the qualitative statements on the first column. Then you have the succeeding column, codes, and then categories. So then you may end here since you just wanted to describe the whole data as it is, the main content. So you have wellness is a process, requires deliberate practice based on these codes, and then involves connecting to oneself based on these codes, involves connecting to others, outcomes of wellness, and there. So that's how we apply content analysis approach for qualitative data. Then for thematic analysis, so let's use these categories, but we just cluster them in order to form themes. So for the first and second category, you clustered it into the theme effort every day. Then third and fourth, connection. And then the last one, you have being well. So a category can also be extended into a theme, even though it's just one. So that it will be, since you think that outcome of wellness cannot be connected to this theme and this theme, then create another theme. That's possible. Then you're done with the thematic analysis approach. But if you will extend, again, if you would like to create a model, a theory, considering all these themes, the connections that they have, you still need to describe. Again, for thematic analysis also, describe all the themes generated, what do they mean, operationalize the definition, the description in your study. So you have these descriptions. Feel free to pause so that you can see the sample, how you can apply it also in your study later on. So if you will extend thematic analysis approach, it will become grounded theory now. So this model represents the connections of all the themes. That for effort every day will have with oneself a connection, and then will relate now to the being well of the resident doctor. So this is already the main theory. That is why back in first semester, you have one activity done, and that is to apply, or in creating the framework, remember concept mapping? That is also needed in the grounded theory approach. So you need to present a model showing the connections of the themes, and that will be an added knowledge already. So this is the theory that you would like to present. Now, so going back again with this illustration, so we have looked at the whole process from the bottom portion going at the top portion, then looking at the range, so starting from content analysis going to grounded. So this is more descriptive content analysis, but as you differ your approach going to grounded theory, it becomes more transformative. So depending now on your research goal, what approach you will apply for analyzing your qualitative data. So in conclusion, so coding is the building block of all qualitative analysis. That's clear. So when you analyze your interview transcript, all transcript, then code them first. Then your approach you select will depend on the research goal and type of data. And the analytical approach should be determined early. And that should be clear in your research question and study design. And if you think your research question is somehow still not fixed, or you wanted to refine, please do refinement still. That's fine also. And then you embrace the process, and you also consult with a qualitative researcher if you want to get published later on. So all these things, please do take note of them and enjoy applying qualitative data analysis.